We'll start thread libraries. Thread library provides the programmer an API for creating and managing the threads. Okay, thread library provides programmer an API for creating and managing threads. There are two primary ways of implementing the thread library here. Okay, that is, first one is library entirely in the user space. Alternative way is kernel level library supported by the operating system. Okay, here the first approach, the library entirely in the user space with no kernel support. Okay, first approach, library entirely we can create in user space with no kernel support. Okay, here all code and data structures for the library exist in the user space itself. Okay, in library entirely in the user space method, here all the code and data structures for the library exists in the user space only. Okay, whereas kernel level library supported by operating system. Okay, this is the second approach, which is to implement the kernel level library supported directly by the operating system. Okay, these are the two primary ways of implementing thread libraries. One is library entirely in the user space, other one is kernel level library supported by the operating system. Okay, and here this kernel level library is supported directly by the operating system. And here we have three primary thread libraries. Those are POSIX pthreads, Win32 thread, Java threads. Okay, we'll be discussing these three libraries, thread libraries. Okay, first one is pthreads. Okay, here the pthreads, these are the threads extension of POSIX standard. Okay, pthreads are extension of POSIX standards, and that may be provided as either as a kernel or user library, user level library. Okay, for pthreads are extension of a POSIX standard, and that may be provided as either user or kernel level library. Okay, and this pthread refers to the POSIX standard, that is IEEE 1000.1c. Okay, defining an API for thread creation and synchronization. Okay, and this is a specification for the thread behavior, not the implementation. Okay, here API specifies the behavior of the thread library. Implementation is up to the development of the library. Okay, API specifies the behavior of the library, that's it. Okay, implementation is up to the development of the library. Okay, and here for these examples for pthreads is common, this is common in the Unix operating systems, and we can say like examples, we can say Solaris, Linux, Mac OS. Okay, these are the examples for pthread libraries. Okay, understood, right? Pthreads are, these are the threads extension of POSIX standard, and that may be provided as a either user or kernel level libraries. Okay, and a POSIX standard is IEEE 1003.1c, API for the thread creation and synchronization purpose. And here the API specifies the behavior of the thread library. Implementation is up to development of the library. Okay, here specification for the thread behavior, not the implementation. Okay, this pthread refers to the POSIX standard defining API for the thread creation and synchronization, but this is a specification for the thread behavior, not for the implementation. Okay, we'll see multi-threaded C program using pthreads API. Okay, you can see here the first statement, ash include pthread.h. Okay, this is here we are including a header file pthread.h. This pthread.h will be consists of thread related libraries and constants. Okay, all thread related types and libraries and all constants and all will be defined in pthread.h header file. Okay, whatever we are going to use, thread related constants libraries that will be stored in the procedures will be stored in the pthread.h header file. Next statement we have is ash include stdio.h. Okay, this specifies standard input output header file. Okay, like procedure for the printf scanf will be stored in this stdio.h. If you are using printf scanf, we need to include this stdio.h header file. Okay, next we have next statement is int sum. Okay, it is a global variable sum we are declaring here. Okay, global variable means that can be used throughout the program in all the functions. Okay, and this data is shared by the threads. Whatever we declare here globally, that data will be shared by the threads here. Okay, so sum we are using in the different functions, so we declared it as globally sum. And here next statement we have void star run of void start param. It's nothing but this statement specifies declaration of a runner function. Okay, where the complete thread logic we will write in this runner function. Okay, it is a pointer function and it has the pointer parameter. Okay, here this pointer function is declared as void return type. Okay, void return type, if you declare it as integer pointer, that will stores the integer type of variables. If you declare it as a floating pointer, that will store the address of float variables. Okay, whereas if you declare it as void, it stores address of any variable. So we declare it as void runner. Okay, this is runner method declaration. Okay, runner of void param. Okay, param is nothing but it's a parameter. Okay, pointer parameter which accepts the pointer parameters. Okay, the complete thread logic will be written inside this runner. Okay, next coming to main method. Okay, main method you can see int main, int argc, comma char argv. Okay, here you have this specifies this int argc comma int char argv specifies that it is a command line arguments as input. Okay, main method is taking command line arguments as a input. Okay, here we have two parameters for this main method, that is int argc. Int argc is nothing but argument count. Okay, that specifies the number of arguments we pass to this main method, will be specified here as argc. Okay, next one is char argv. Okay, this is argument vector. Okay, argument vector which will stores the upper limit. Okay, this is the program to find the sum of n natural numbers. Okay, here n is the upper limit. Okay, so assume that our program is cmd.c. We have saved our program as cmd.c. Okay, and how many parameters, what parameter we want to pass for this program is that assume that I want to pass 3 as the upper limit, that is 3 as n value. Okay, I wanted to add first 3 numbers. Okay, that sum value I wanted to display. Okay, sum of n natural numbers like 1, 2, 3. I want to add 3 numbers and I wanted to display it. Okay, that here in command line arguments we will give it as program name space and n value. Okay, so number of argc will consist of what value, because here we are giving 2 arguments are count is 2. That is first one is program name is argument 1 and n value is argument 2. Okay, argc will consist of value 2. Okay, next character array we are reading it. Okay, character array we are reading it, and here what value we are giving as n will be stored in this character array. Okay, argument vector. This is argv specifies argument vector. In this argument vector, argv of 0 will consist of cmd. Cmd is nothing but name of the program. Argv of 1 consists of n value, that is 3. Okay, we are passing for this main program as command line arguments as input, that is name of the program cmd space and n value as 3 here. Okay, n value stored in argv of 1. Okay, cmd will store in argv of 0. Okay, in this argumentation vector. Okay, next we have in this program, first statement is pthread underscore t tid. Okay, that is we are declaring a thread id. Okay, every thread will be identified by using a unique thread id. That's what we discussed in the previous session. Okay, every thread will be having a thread identification number. Okay, to declare that number we have used tid as a variable here, that we declared as type pthread underscore t. Okay, this procedure will comes under this pthread.h. Okay, this will come under pthread.h. Okay, we declared a thread identifier tid, we declared here in the first statement. Okay, next statement, pthread underscore attr underscore t space attr. That means we are setting a thread attributes. Attr specifies attribute. Okay, here we are setting a attribute. By using this attr attribute, we can modify the attribute of a thread. Okay, which will consist of all the information of attribute information of the thread. Attr will consist of attribute information of the thread. So using this attr, we can modify the attributes of the thread. Okay, and here it is declared as a data type pthread underscore attr underscore t. This also will comes under this pthread.h header file. Okay, and here in the next statement, pthread underscore attr underscore init of ampersand attr. Okay, here for this init method we are passing attr. That is, to get the default attributes for the thread, we are passing the attr. Okay, attr is nothing but thread attribute. Thread attribute we are passing here to get the default attribute for the thread. Okay, here init specifies the initialization. Okay, here we have init. This is for initialization purpose. In order to set the attribute for the thread, we use this statement. Okay, pthread underscore attr underscore init method will be used to set the attributes for the thread. Okay, and by using this statement, it will get the default attributes for the thread. Okay, that will be stored in attr. Okay, attr will hold the attribute values for the thread. Understood, right? Next statement we have pthread underscore create statement. Okay, pthread underscore create method. This is used to create the thread. Okay, this is the statement which is used to create the thread. Thread will be created by using this statement. And here for this pthread underscore create method, we are passing 4 parameters. Okay, that is ampersand tid, ampersand attr, runner, comma argv. Okay, these are the 4 parameters we are passing. Okay, this pthread underscore create procedure also will comes under this pthread.h header file, and we are passing here 4 parameters to create the thread. This statement used to create a thread. Okay, for this we are passing 4 parameters. The first parameter is ampersand tid. This specifies the ID, thread ID. Okay, every thread will be identified by using a unique thread ID that will be specified by TID. Next one is ATTR. It is nothing but attribute information. Okay, all the attribute information of the threads will be stored inside this attr. Okay, we are acquiring this attribute information by using attr, ampersand attr. Next parameter we are passing here is runner. Runner is a function which will hold the thread logic. Okay, complete thread logic will be written in the runner function. Okay, so this is the name of the function is runner. We are passing it as third argument for the create method. Okay, next argv of 1. Okay, argv of 1 is augment vector of 1. What the augment vector of 1 consists of? We have discussed that we are passing here number of argument count is 2. That is, we are passing two arguments. One is name of the program, that is cmd, and n value. N value we assumed it as 3. So argv consists of n value, that is 3. So we are passing these four parameters for this pthread underscore create method to create the thread. Okay, once this statement gets executed, control will go to this runner method. It will go to execute the runner method. Okay, and we have discussed while starting of the program runner method declaration. Okay, it is runner method return type is void. So void return type means it will not return anything to the main program. Okay, and it's a pointer vector, pointer method, and it has the pointer parameter. Okay, and this runner method will be used to write the complete thread logic. Okay, our complete thread logic will be written inside this runner function only. Okay, and the thread will begin its control in this runner function itself. Okay, thread will begin control in runner function itself. Okay, here we have the first statement in this function is int I. We are declaring a variable called I here, and we have declared another variable upper equal to a to I of param. Okay, here we have for this runner function we have a parameter called param. Okay, param is nothing but it stores the uh, argv of one value. Argv of one value will be sent to this runner method. Okay, param will stores the argv of 1 is what? Argv of 1 is 3. Param is having 3 here, and this argv is what type of array? It is a character array, which is in the value will be stored in the form of string here. Okay, that string we wanted to convert into integer here. For that we are using a function called a to I function. Okay, what is a to I function specifies? A to I function will specify it is a array to integer. Okay, which will be used to convert the array into the integer. Okay, this is a character array. Character array we are converting into integer by using a to I. Okay, that after converting into integer, this will be initialized to upper. Okay, now the upper is holding a value of 3. Okay, upper is having 3. Now here we have sum we have declared globally, and now globally sum is declared as integer, and that is declared globally. Now here we are initializing sum equal to 0. Okay, here we have a first statement to find the sum of n natural numbers. So for that, the first loop is for I equal to 1, I less than or equal to upper. Okay, upper is what? Upper is 3. I value is what? I value we have initialized in the for loop, that is I equal to 1. 1 is less than or equal to 3. Yes, it is true. So now control will come inside the for loop. Okay, for loop we have only one statement, that is sum plus equal to I. That means sum equal to sum plus I. Okay, initially the sum is 0. So 0 plus I is 1. 0 plus I, 0 plus 1 is 1. So 1 we are assigning to sum. Okay, after assigning to sum as 1, control will go to the updation part of the for loop. Updation part of the for loop, what it will do? Here we are incrementing the I value. Now I will be incremented as 2. Okay, initially I was 1. I will be incremented by 1. That is I plus plus is nothing but I equal to I plus 1. So I will be incremented by 1. Now the I value is 2. Now we need to check the condition whether 2 is less than or equal to 3. Okay, upper is what? 3 value 3, upper is holding the value 3. Now here in this condition we will check whether 2 is less than or equal to 3. It is 2. True, right? 2 is less than or equal to 3. So control will come inside. Now the sum is holding the value 1. So sum equal to sum plus I. Okay, that is 1 plus 2. Okay, 1 plus 2 is how much? It is 3. So 3 we will assign to sum. Okay, now control again will go back to the updation statement of for loop. That is, we are incrementing I value. Now I was 2. After executing this increment statement, I will become 3. So control will come here and check for the condition whether 3 is less than or equal to 3. Yes, it is true. So control again come inside the loop and it will execute this statement sum equal to sum plus I. Sum is how much? 3 plus I value is 3. So 3 plus 3 it will become 6. 6 will be stored into the sum. Okay. So once now again the control will go back to this updation part. I will be incremented by 1. Now the I value will become 4. 4 is less than or equal to upper? No. It is, condition is false. Control will come back here and it will execute this statement. This is pthread underscore exit. Okay. This also will comes under the pthread.h header file. Okay, this statement is to destroy the thread. Okay, pthread underscore exit method is used to destroy the thread. Okay, here we have a statement pthread underscore create. This is used to create the thread. This pthread underscore exit is used to destroy the thread. Okay, next coming to the main program. After executing the runner method, control again comes back here. Okay, here we have another statement is pthread underscore join. Okay, pthread underscore join, which will blocks the main until runner method gets executed. Okay, this pthread underscore join method is used to block the main method until runner method will get executed. Okay, so that runner method gets executed, it passes null value to it. Until that, it will join method will blocks the main method to stop its execution. Okay, this method is used for wait for the thread to exit. Until the thread get exit, this join method will blocks the main method. Okay, after once the thread is destroyed, it will be receives the value as null here. Then it will allow the main method to continue its execution. Okay, here in the main method we have next statement is printf sum. Okay, some value 6 will be printed here. Okay, this is the multi-threaded program, multi-threaded C program using pthread API. Understood, right? Next is Win32 thread. The Win32 thread library is a kernel level library, okay, which is available on Windows system. Okay, Win32 thread library is kernel level library which is available on Windows system. Okay, here the technique for creating threads using the Win32 thread library is similar to the pthreads technique. Okay, like how we create a threads using pthread, the same way here we create the threads using Win32 library. Also, both are same. Okay, using Win32 and using pthreads, we creating the threads will be same. Okay, and we must include in windows.h header file. Okay, whereas in pthreads we used to include pthread.h header file, but here we need to include windows.h header file when we using the Win32 API. If we are using Win32 API, we need to include windows.h header file. Okay. Next, threads are created in Win32 API using the create thread function. Okay, by using the create thread function, we create a thread here in Win32 API. Using Win32 API, we create the threads by using create thread function, and a set of attributes for this thread is passed in this function. Like pthread creation also, create thread function, we have passed 4 attributes. Like that, here also we need to pass some set of attributes to create the thread here in Win32 API. Okay, these attributes includes the security information, the size of the stack, and flag that can be set to indicate if the thread is to start in a suspended state. Okay, these attributes will include the security information, the size of the stack, and the flag that can be set to indicate if the thread is to start in suspended state or not. That will be included in these attributes. Okay, and the parent thread waits for the child thread using the wait for single object function. Okay, here the parent thread will be wait for child thread to complete its execution by using wait for single object function. By using wait for single object function, here the parent thread will wait for child thread using wait for single object function. Okay, which causes creating the thread to block until the summation thread has expired. Okay, so until the child thread get destroyed, it will block the main thread. Okay, by using this wait for single object function, like we have used in this pthreads, that join function. Like that, this wait for single object function will blocks the main thread until that child thread get destroyed. Okay, we'll see the code here. This is the code for multi-threaded C program using Win32 API. Okay, here we have the same header files, but here we will be using windows.h header file. Okay, and stdio.h, this is for standard input output header file. Okay, here we declare the um, d word sum. It is nothing but data word. Data is shared by the threads, that will be declared it as globally we will be declaring here. Okay, here we are writing a method. Okay, this in this method where complete the main thread logic will be written in this summarization method. Okay, in this summarization method, complete the thread logic will be written. Okay, and here in this main method, we declare the d word thread id and handle thread variable we declare here, and one more variable param we declare here in this main method. Okay, and thread handle is equal to create thread. Using this statement, the thread will be created here. Okay, for this we have five for this we have uh, 6 parameters. Okay, the first one is null. Okay, it is a default security attribute. 0 is the default stack size, and summarization is nothing but it's a thread function where the thread logic is written. Okay, next is ampersand param, where parameter is to thread function. Okay, this is the parameter to the thread function will be passed as a param here. Next, 0, it is a default creation flags is 0, and thread id, which will returns the thread identification number. Okay, tid in the p threads, like how we use pid in the 3 thread, like that, here in this Win32 we use thread id. Okay, and here if thread handle is not equal to null, okay, wait for single object. Okay, that means that Now wait for the thread to finish. Wait for this statement will make us to make the main thread to block until that summarization method will get executed. Until that, the main thread will get blocked. Okay, after execution of summarization, it will close handle method will be called. Okay, that is to close thread handle will be closed. Then print some value we are printing here in this program. This is the multi-threaded C program using Win32 API. Yeah, this is Java threads. Here, the Java thread API allows the thread creation and management directly in the Java programs. Okay, Java thread API will allow thread creation and thread management directly in the Java programs. And threads are the fundamental model of the program execution in the Java program. Okay, these are the fundamental model of program execution in Java. Okay, the Java language and its APIs provides a rich set of features for the creation and management of the threads. Okay, Java language and the API provides a rich set of features for creation and management of the threads. And all Java programs comprise at least a single thread of control, and even a simple Java program consists of only a main method runs as a single thread in a JVM. Okay, all Java programs will comprise at least one thread of control. Okay, like if we say like simple program which is consists of only main method. Okay, that will run as a single thread in JVM. Okay, JVM is nothing but Java Virtual Machine. Okay, and there are two techniques for creating threads in the Java program. In Java we create threads by using two techniques. The first one is we create a new class that is derived from the thread class. Okay, by deriving the thread class we create the Java thread. This is one technique. Okay, that is to override its run method. Okay, by overriding the run method, to override the run method, we derive a class from the thread class. This is one technique for creating threads in Java program. Okay, then we have an alternative and more commonly used technique for defining technique is define a class that implements runnable interface. Okay, define a Java class which will implement the runnable interface. Okay, here the name of the interface is runnable. Okay, a runnable interface, and if you want to use that runnable interface, here we use the keyword called implements. By using implements keyword, we access the runnable interface here in Java. Okay, implements is nothing but it's a keyword. Okay, and here we create the threads by using runnable interface. Okay, by using the runnable interface we can create the threads. Not only that, we can create the threads by deriving a class from thread class. Okay, where we override its run method. Okay, and here we have a code that is runnable interface is defined like this: public interface runnable. Okay, this is a interface in Java will be specified by using interface keyword. Interface, name of the interface is runnable. Okay, if it is a class, how we write in Java? Class, name of the class. It is an interface, so it is, we have written as interface, name of the interface is runnable, and which consists of run method inside it. Okay, next, the creating thread object does not specifically create a new thread. Okay, creating the thread object will not specially create a new thread. Okay, here we have a method called start method that actually creates a new thread. When you call this start method, that actually the thread method will get created. Okay, if you create the thread object, it won't create exactly that thread will not get created. By using that thread object, we invoke the start method. That time the actual thread will get created in the Java. Okay, calling the start method for the new object, it will do two things. One is it allocates memory and initializes a new thread in JVM. Okay, if you call the thread start method with the new thread object, by using the thread object, if you invoke the start method, it will do two things. The first one is it allocates memory and initializes a new thread in JVM, and it calls the run method, making the thread eligible to be run by the JVM. Okay, and first what it will do, it allocates the memory, okay, and initializes the new thread in the JVM. Then it calls the run method. Okay, it calls the run method, making that thread eligible to run by the Java virtual machine. Okay, and as Java is a pure object oriented language, it has no notation of global data. Okay, in previous P threads and Win30 through 32, we have the global data. We have declared some as global because that is a shared data, the data which is shared among the threads. So we have declared globally some in P threads and Win32 API. Whereas Java is a pure object oriented language. It has no notation of global data. If two or more threads have to share the data means, then sharing occurs by passing reference to the shared objects to the appropriate threads. Okay, here the sharing can be done by using if two or more threads have to share the data means, then the sharing occurs by passing reference to the shared objects. Okay, by passing reference to the shared object to appropriate threads. By using that, we share the data among the threads here in Java. Okay, and this shared object is referenced through the appropriate get some method and set some method. We'll discuss about these methods when we are discussing the code. Okay, the shared object is referenced through get some method and set some method. Okay, as as the integer class is immutable. What is immutable means, once the value is set, it cannot be changed. So a new sum class is designed here in this Java. Okay, which will consist of get some method and set some method. Okay, and the parent thread in Java uses join method to wait for the child thread to finish before proceeding. Okay, in P threads also we use join method. Join function is called to block the parent thread until child thread get completes its execution. Okay, here in Java we use join method to block the parent thread, and or we can say like to make the parent thread to wait for the child thread to finish. Okay, after that, after completion of child thread execution completed, then parent thread will get activated and it will proceed with its job. Okay, we'll see with the code. Okay, this is the multi-threaded Java program. Here we have three classes. One is sum class. Okay, next one is summation class. Next one is driver class. Okay, we have three classes, and this driver class is the main class because main method is inside this driver class. Okay, always the Java class name should be given as a the class name which has the main method. Okay, the always Java program will save with the class name which is having the main method. That class name we give as a Java program name. Okay, so this program we save it as driver dot Java. Okay, so this is the driver class. Uh, the is a main class because we have main method in it. Okay, first we'll see the sum class. Okay, sum class. Okay, you can see here while giving the name for the class, always we use capital letter. Okay, we can declare a class by using the small letter also, but Java community will follow naming convention that always the class names will be written by starts with capital letters, and method names will start with lowercase letters. Okay, class names will start with uppercase letters. Especially why we follow this convention is because to distinguish between the variable name and class name. Okay, if a class has the same name as variable name, class name and variable name are same, so to distinguish we'll write class name will start with capital letter. Okay, here also the same situation comes here. Here the class is sum class. Okay, sum is S is uppercase letter, and always in Java class names will starts with uppercase letters. Okay, it is to distinguish the variable name and class name. Okay, next we have here an initial declaration statement, that is int sum. Okay, it's a variable, sum is a variable here. You can see the variable name always starts with the lowercase letter. Okay, you can see here, this is variable sum. Okay, this is the class name sum. Okay, and class name and variable name should not be same. Okay, both you can't give the small case letters. If you give the declare the variable name as a class name, that time there will be a compiler error will get generated. So we have given the class name as using capital letter. Okay, we have started the class name with capital letter. Usually in Java language, Java community will follow some naming conventions where whenever always the class names will be started with capital letters. Okay, it is not the rule that always you should write the Java class names with capital letter. That won't create you any error. Okay, to distinguish the class names, object, method names, and variable names, we always write the class names will be started with uppercase letters. Okay, just remember that. Next we have here um, get sum method. Okay, get sum method which will returns the sum. Okay, and here this sum class has two methods, one is get sum method and set sum method. This get sum method will just returns the sum value. Okay, next we have this set sum method which will initializes the sum. Okay, which will initializes the sum, and the return type of this is void. Okay, uh, get sum method which will return the sum value. Okay, and here we have the instance variable is sum. Okay, you have the instance variable sum is here, and here the local variable is sum. Both are instance variable and local variables are same. Okay, in order to access the instance variable we use the this operator. Okay, in order to access this sum, okay, we want to initialize the given parameter value to this sum. Okay, to specify this is this sum, that is instance variable sum, so we use the operator called this operator. This dot sum is equal to sum. Okay, here in this set sum method we are initializing the sum value, okay, to the instance variable sum by using this operator. Okay, understood this? Yeah, next class is summation class. Okay, you can see here the in Java we can create threads in two ways. One is by extending the thread class and by implementing the runnable interface. Okay, here we are creating the threads by implementing the runnable interface. Okay, and here we are creating the threads by implementing the runnable interface. Okay, uh, so here we have, this is the name of the interface is runnable, and we are creating the threads by you implementing this runnable interface. Okay, by accessing this runnable interface, we are creating the threads here. Okay, whenever we are using the interfaces, we need to use implements keyword. Okay, by using implements keyword, we can uh, implement the interfaces. So we use we use implements keyword and then name of the interface. Okay, summation class implements runnable interface. Okay, next here we have the variable declaration. Next statement here is variable we have declared int upper. Okay, here what is upper? Here our program is sum of n natural numbers. Okay, the upper limit we just assume it as 3. 3 is our upper limit. Okay, 3 is our upper limit. And public summation method. Here we have a public summation method. And for that we have two variables here, two parameters, that is upper and sum value. Okay, and here you can see here we declared as some value. Okay, some value is nothing but here we are creating a object of type sum class. Okay, we are creating a sum class object. Okay. Why we are creating sum class object? To access the get sum method and set sum method. The set sum method and get sum method are in the sum class. Okay, to access that we create an object for the sum class, sum class as sum value. Okay, and summation constructor, it is a summation constructor. Whenever the method name and class name are same, it is a constructor. What the constructor will do in Java, there is a special method that is used for initializing the objects is constructor. Constructor is a special method that is used to initialize the objects. Okay, and the constructor is called when an object of the class is created. Whenever the object of the class created, the constructor will be called, and it can be used to set initial value for the object attributes. So for that initialization purpose, we use constructor here. Whenever object created, the constructor will be, respective constructor will be called and the objects will get initialized. Okay, here we are using summation constructor and it accepts two parameters, that is upper and sum value. Okay, and here in this the instance variable and local variables are same. We can access the instance variable by using this operator. Here you can see that instance variable upper and sum value, these are same as local variables, that is upper and sum value. Okay, so distinguish between this instance and local variables. Here we are using, if you want to access the instance variable, we are using the this operator. By using this operator, we are accessing the instance variables. Okay, this dot upper equal to upper, this dot sum value equal to sum value. Okay, next we can write the logic for the thread. Okay, the entire implementation of thread is provided by overriding the run method. By overriding the run method, complete implementation of thread is provided. Okay, by overriding the run method. By overriding the run method, we need to write logic for the thread. Okay, our logic is sum of n natural numbers. That logic we are writing here. Okay, uh, we need to store the sum value here. For that, we are invoking set sum method. Okay, to store the after completion of the logic, we need to store the sum value. Okay, so for that we are using the object set sum object. Okay, and that set sum object is invoked by sum value. Sum value object is invoking the set sum method, which comes under sum class. Okay, some class is set sum method is consisted by some class. Okay, some class method we wanted to access it. So that how we access, by invoking this set sum method by using the that some class object. Some class object is sum value. By using sum value object, we are invoking the set sum method to access the set, to set the sum value. Okay, to store the sum value, we are invoking the set sum method by using sum value object. Okay, sum value is a sum class object. Understood, right? And once this statement is get executed, sum value dot set sum executed, control will go to set sum method in sum class. Okay, there it will, control will go here, and the sum value will be set to this sum. Okay, this is about summation implementation. Next is driver class. Okay, in driver class we have the, this is the main class, and we have the object name is sum object equal to new sum. This is to create the object. Okay, to we are creating an object here, sum object. Name of the object is sum object. This is to get some, this is to get some value from the get sum method. To access the get sum method, we want an object of that class. Okay, object of that class where the get sum method is there. Get sum method is there in the sum class. Okay, so first we need to create the sum class object. By using the sum class object, we will be accessing the get sum method which is present in the sum class. Okay, and here we are executing the program by using command prompt. So we will pass the input from the command prompt. That is what value we pass here from the command prompt, that is 3. Okay, here this args of 0 consists of value 3. Okay, and by default in Java, args are type of strings. We can see here args is type string. It is a string array, character array. Okay, so whatever we pass, it will be stored as a string in Java. So here it takes 3 as string. Now that string 3 need to be converted to integer. So we use integer wrapper class. Okay, which consists of parseInt method. Integer wrapper class we are using to convert the string into the integer, which consists of parseInt method. Okay, whenever this start is executed, string 3 is converted to the integer 3. Okay, whenever this statement will get executed, integer dot parseInt statement executed, the args of 0 is consists of string 3. That string 3 will get converted into integer, then that will be assigned to upper. Upper is a variable. Okay, for upper the integer will be assigned. Okay, next here we are creating a thread object. Thread object is created by using thread class. Thread is the name of the class thread. Object of the thread is T we declared. Okay, T is the thread object, name of the thread object. Okay, we created the thread object by using this statement, that is thread T equal to new thread of new summation of upper comma sum object. Okay, here we are passing upper and sum object to the summation class. Okay, we are invoking the constructor, summation class constructor, and we are creating the thread object. Okay, after this, here next statement we have is T dot start method. Okay, by using the T dot start method, always the thread creation will start. When you create the object, thread will not start. Okay, thread will not get created actually. When you call this T dot start method only, the thread will get created. Okay, by using we are creating here thread. The control will go to sum and it executes the logic, and value will be set in the set sum. By using the set sum method, value will get set. Okay, next we have T dot join method we are calling. This is to block the main thread until here we created the child thread. Okay, to complete until the main thread will get blocked, until the child thread will complete its execution. Okay, for that we are using t.join method. And now here we are printing the sum value, sum of n natural numbers by invoking that getSum method by using sum object. Okay, by using the sum object, we are invoking the getSum method that will get the value which is stored in sum. Okay, that we are printing here. If there is any exception, that will be catched by using catch method. Okay, this is the use of try and catch. Try will try the logic here. If there is any exception, catch will catch that exception. This is about Java thread.